What's going on, America? I am Graham Allen, and welcome to the newest episode of the Dear America podcast. Congress hopeful Catalina Lauf is in the studio today. If she is successful, she will unseat AOC as the youngest elected official ever in Congress. This is going to be a fantastic discussion because we let you behind the wall of what it's like to run for Congress. Sit back, buckle up, and welcome to the newest episode of the Dear America podcast. Hey! What's going on, America? I am Graham Allen, and welcome to the newest episode of the Dear America podcast. There it is. All right. They always try to like do like this little.
Well, you told us I interrupted you last one. So.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, 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 very special guest in the studio today. Miss Catalina Lauf is here. Congressional hopeful from the Illinois 14th District.
Yeah.
See,
you got it.
So, real quick, so everybody knows, when you win, all right, when you win, you will unseat AOC as the youngest elected person in the Congress, right?
Yes.
So how old are you?
26.
26 years old. How does that happen? How does a 26-year-old decide? Because I know what I was doing at 26. Mm-hmm. I was an idiot.
No, you weren't. We had 3 kids at that point.
It doesn't mean that I wasn't stupid.
What are you talking about?
You don't have to be smart to have. You don't have to be smart to have kids.
You
But
are
anyway,
not stupid.
All right. So take us to that. How does a 26-year-old from Illinois decide to run for Congress?
Sure. So I don't know how far back you want to go.
I was born on a brisk night.
It was Woodstock Memorial Hospital.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
So I grew up in a really small town, middle of nowhere, cornfields.
Okay.
And I went to obviously high school over there, but I just really had this urge to just get my life going. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up being homeschooled, but then also getting to college.
Homeschool buddies.
Really nice.
Yeah. All right. They just did this weird clap thing for everybody not watching.
That's why you should watch it.
They did a homeschool high five.
I was like, what's going on? So quickly got my associate's degree, and then all my gen eds out of the way. Then went to Miami of Ohio, finished up my schooling there, and I really loved current events and politics and just understanding what was going on with the country. I was very into history and reading about the American Revolution, our founding fathers, things like that. And so when I got to college, I became really involved, obviously, with college Republicans.
Right.
And in the area that I was in Oxford, Ohio, John Boehner's district was there. So there were so many opportunities to just be involved in the political stuff. But then I also, part of me was like, look, I should probably get some real world experience if politics isn't what I want to do.
You believe you should have experience?
Yeah. I was
wow. That's the direct opposite of what some people in Congress believe right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, right. And growing up from a family of small business owners and entrepreneurs, I loved just the thought of working in a company, working at a startup, and just understanding how, business and all that worked. And so I'm like, look, I got to go to the private sector for a bit, put the political stuff on the side, but it was always such a passion of mine, not the political stuff, but more of the current events and just understanding what was going on in the country.
Right.
And obviously for millennials, it's sometimes not really an interest of theirs. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I went to the private sector for a bit, ended up working at Uber corporate, which was such an amazing experience. And during the time, it went from, a startup to this massive company, and I saw, that growth.
It's a big deal, Uber. It's a big deal. Yep.
Even my mom Ubers. That should say something.
Yeah.
And so I loved the private sector, but honestly, things started heating up in 2016, mm-hmm. and there was such a need for disruption in the political space. Oh, yeah. And people were fed up with the Obama administration and the failed policies of that. I grew up as obviously a conservative, and but you could just tell that there was a need for some change there.
Right.
And obviously now with like the digital era and politics becoming more transparent, people are understanding. You really have to read up on people. You really, people don't want these button up people in office anymore.
No.
We wanted real people, and Donald Trump came in and he completely changed that game for everybody.
Yep.
And he really his message resonated with me so much. I mean, I was part of that, really believed in the Mitt Romneys of the world and that old school kind of career type of politician. But then he came in and he had the business background. He was a disruptor. He was truly draining the swamp. And that message resonated with so many people like myself that I was like, oh my God, we're going through a new era in politics.
So many
so
things
true.
happened in 16 that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like Donald Trump not only won, he created this whole new everything. Like we were created from that election.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, and so now you not only have new people like yourself coming in. I would say the first one to break through this new wave on the Republican side would probably be Dan.
Right,
Crenshaw,
exactly.
Yeah, so Dan really embraced, when I met at the time Congressman-elect Crenshaw, we sat down and we had a couple drinks, hung out, and we talked about this new era and this new wave that was happening.
Yeah.
And he was the first candidate to really kind of embrace what you're talking about right now. And he went, I mean, just head first into this. He's like, you're right. Social media is the future. And if you don't connect to people through social media, you're pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's really shown how his popularity has soared. He's less than a year into his first year in Congress.
Yeah.
And he's already having events where 2,000 plus people are showing up just for him.
And why do they do that?
Because he connects with them.
Because he
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing about Dan is that he shows what's going on inside Washington.
Exactly.
Like
He
instead of
doesn't
it,
hide.
he takes the curtain down. He's
Yes.
like, "This is what we did today.
Yeah.
This is what it's
Yeah.
about."
I like what you're doing on social, because you're actually like, I love when you post videos on your Instagram.
Thanks.
Okay, pictures are great, but the videos are cool, because you see like your Ted Cruz's and all these other people, which love Ted Cruz, love him to death. I've even heard a rumor he's thinking about a 2024 run, which I think he'll just get decimated. I don't think it'll ever happen. But either way, all of his posts are that typical, had such an amazing time with the District 8 Boy Scout troop, future great American leaders, stuff. That stereotypical things. But when you post like videos and you're just talking to people, I guess you're in like a hotel room or you're just traveling. I think
my basement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your basement.
Nice.
But people respond to that better than they do. That's why AOC is so appealing
It is.
to dumb folks. Sorry.
Yeah. No, well,
I'm
so
just kidding.
that gets to my, why I wanted to run, because I've always wanted to be a public servant in a way, right? I've always wanted to connect with people and help people in some capacity, but it was I felt this need that we needed new people, new faces, new perspective in Congress. And Dan, in a lot of ways, like you said, broke that mold. And now, I mean, we need younger people across the board. Like being in office for 30 years, 40 years is just, it's not, this shouldn't be a career, right?
I'm pro term limits.
Yeah.
I really
Like
am.
Grassley. Like, you ever seen Grassley talk?
Well,
He's like 100 years old. Like,
Well,
dude, time for you to go,
freaking
man.
Nadler, man.
Nadler.
Nadler looks like the real life penguin.
Even McConnell.
And what? He does. Babe.
I do agree that a new wave.
I have
should
never
be coming.
seen a man that is 70% like legs and hip.
Stop.
I mean, just what? I'm just being.
No,
for
I
real.
agree with you.
Look,
I
man,
agree.
I got short legs. It's just how I'm built. I mean, I can embrace it. I've had the same size head since I was 2. I had to grow into it. I mean, you got to be able to talk about these things.
But anyways.
Anyway,
And that was the original intent of what our founding fathers wanted, right? Like, you are an everyday American. You're working your job. You're willing to step up and represent a body of people. And that's what it should be, because that leads to accountability and transparency. When you have a government that just sits there and puts everyday working Americans, taxpayer money, just going to this conglomerate that there's no accountability, there's no transparency. Who is speaking for the people?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I think people just were so taken aback by in Trump's election, because he understood the everyday American and he wanted to fix things.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be. That's what a representative democracy should be.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you said a public servant.
Yeah.
I
Right.
love that you said that, because I feel like it's just become a power and money. And I'm going to stay here for 50 years because I can.
Yeah.
I don't really care about serving the people. I want to make sure I get my paycheck.
Yeah.
And and I just love that you said public servant.
Yeah.
Because it's like no one views that way anymore, it feels like.
Exactly. And people are like, look, you're so young. Why do you want to, sit this one out and all that? It's like, first of all, I have a ton of sacrifices that I've made to do this in a personal and career. And it's because I feel so called to be part of this process, especially now with people like AOC and the squad coming up, young women who are not only just fanning the flames of divisive rhetoric. We're in such a gridlock right now. Everything that the president does is just attack, attack, attack. Well, what about the future, not only from an American character perspective, right? When your leaders are just out there constantly using social media and fanning these flames, but then also from a policy perspective, the policies that they want to implement fundamentally take away the American dream.
Yeah.
And it's time for everyday people now to step forward and push back on that evil, because we cannot go down that route from a cultural perspective, but also from a policy perspective.
Right. So for people listening, where is the Illinois 14th district? Because most people that don't live in Illinois.
Most people that
you
do
just
live
think
in Illinois
Chicago.
probably don't know.
No. But what I'm saying is, everyone who doesn't live in Illinois, you hear Illinois, you go Chicago.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, and that's it. So where is the 14th district?
40 miles northwest of Chicago.
Okay.
So quick hour and a half train ride in. I know you lived over there.
Yeah. So
And-
is it a big, what's the battle like for you? Is it a big democratically held area?
No. So that's what's crazy, is that it is a Republican district.
Really?
And it went 4 points for Trump in 2016. The majority of the district is comprised of small business, partially agricultural area, manufacturing companies, just every day, it's Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is again, a Republican district, and we can flip it back. If we don't flip this one, we can't flip the House back, because that's how easy it is to get back. And we will get it back because there's so much momentum this cycle. Again, I think being a new face of the party and being new energy really helps, but also I was born and raised in that town.
Right.
Yep.
And that is a huge part of my passion too, is that I want to preserve what we have and represent the people who I grew up with and the community that I was born and bred in. And so we have an amazing opportunity.
Have
here.
you had a good response from your community since you were born and raised there?
Yeah, people love it. And what's great too is that the area is just so, like I said, everyday American. When you talk about impeachment and things like that, we want to talk about kitchen table issues, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what the majority of districts want to talk about.
Yep.
And people are so out of touch right now, representatives, some of them in office, where they think that this political and DC, whatever the sound bites are happening from a political perspective are what matters, but it's not.
No, they're
Right.
terrible. I think it's very safe to say that the vast majority is terrible. All right, so look, we want to get into the real you
Oh,
here,
no.
and so we're gonna have a little bit of fun. But before we do, let's get into a sponsor. Self-defense is your God-given right. Period. But it's your responsibility to practice, which is why I want you to go to your computer right now and get an iTarget Pro system. This is the first dry fire training system to combine smartphone technology with the industry's best laser bullet. Using your smartphone, their proprietary app tracks a laser bullet which fits your gun and will detect exactly where your shots are landing. iTarget Pro is completely safe. Comes with a your caliber specific bullet and target system. Right now, get 10% off plus free shipping with the offer code Graham. Train risk-free for 30 days. Return it if not completely satisfied, but before you do, go to the range and experience the difference. Take it from me. Dry fire training will develop muscle memory, help with target reaction speed, sight alignment, trigger function, and more. Plus, you'll save a ton of money on ammo. Go to itargetpro.com. That's the letter I, targetpro.com, offer code Graham. All right. So let's get to know you a little bit better for the audience here. Okay, so you're from Illinois.
Yep.
All right, so Yankee at the end of the day, as we call down here in the South. What?
Don't get me started on that, man.
It is true.
Jake gets so butthurt
Really?
because he's from Missouri. And I refuse to acknowledge that Missouri is a southern state. Refuse. And Jake
Also
gets,
lives
right
in
at the
Chicago,
border.
too.
Jake gets
okay.
so mad at me. Anyway,
Civil
I'm
War
half
talk.
Latina though, so does that really count?
I don't know.
My-
Yes.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
half
What the rules
South.
are there.
Illinois, you're a Yankee.
Lived in the South for 6 years now. I think
If you're
I'm
in the deep South, yeah, everything.
My ancestors
basically
are
not
from
in
Puerto
Mississippi,
Rico, but I've
Alabama.
lived in New York my whole
wow.
life. No, not really. No, have you seen me? No,
say, you look a
absolutely not.
You do
No.
not look like it
No,
at all.
I am Irish or German or something. I mean, it is definite. I mean, my name is Graham Allen. It doesn't
Well,
get
that's
much
true.
wider than that.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought you were
true.
British at first. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
British.
And in my first name
Swedish.
is Robert, so I got
Oh,
three
okay.
first white names.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
It's just
you
true. Yeah, you do.
Maybe white.
Anytime I make a reservation somewhere,
Yeah.
they always flip my names around because Graham could be a last name, Allen could be last or
Yeah.
first, and so it always gets messed up. Anyway, but back to you guys. Wow. All right. So are you more of a football person? Are you more of a baseball person? What does Catalina like to do other than run for Congress?
Yeah, I like football. Baseball, I like football better.
So what's your
yeah.
team? Are you a pro football? Are you a college football?
No, so obviously I'm a Bears girl, but Packers are pretty good too.
Yeah, Bears.
And I'm gonna make a lot of people
Yeah.
mad right
Wow,
now.
you better
but-
stop before you
Right, the district's right on the border of Wisconsin,
Okay,
so I
okay,
kind
okay.
of dip back and
All
forth.
right.
Chiefs are pretty
right?
good
So,
too, the
Yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah.
That's how it is. That's how it is where we're from. So we're from Mississippi. There's no pro team in Mississippi.
Okay.
And we live right on the Mississippi-Alabama line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's half divided, Mississippi State or Alabama fans. So I'm an Alabama fan. Alyssa went to Mississippi State.
Hail State.
So, but she also got her
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
better degree
Yeah.
from Alabama.
Only because Mississippi State
Oh.
did not have a master's program. in
Well,
that at
that's
the point.
because they're the inferior
But
school.
you know what?
Anyway,
They do now.
Clarify.
Yeah.
yeah, just to
They do now.
clarify.
I had to go there.
Right. So we've always had this debate: what's
Yeah.
better, the pro or the college? And
College.
we of course go college
All the
man.
time, every day. There's
Because
more heart.
Yeah.
college, it can be fourth quarter, and you
Yeah.
can be down 3 touchdowns. That game ain't over in college.
Nope.
Yeah.
It ain't over.
You never know.
If you're down 10 or more points in the fourth in the pros,
Yeah.
it's over.
over.
You know what I mean? Like it's why do you even watch the fourth quarter 95% of the time in the NFL? Whereas college, man, you can watch it
You
up to
never
like
know.
1 second left. Literally, Auburn beat Alabama with 1 second left
Oh, man.
on a kick 6 return.
Amazing.
I mean,
It
it's
helps.
just-
It helps if you go to a fun school though, too.
That's
Oh,
like
so
Miami of
true.
Ohio.
You're right.
Yeah.
I went to Miami of Ohio, and it was.
You got to pick the right
That had to
team.
been
to
slow.
definitely go
That
for.
had to been a slow,
Yeah.
slow
Yeah.
Saturdays on those days. Alyssa looks like she's dying.
Oh, am I?
Well, you said you had some stuff you wanted to
Oh,
share. So,
yeah, I can.
when you got your phone up and you looked at me, I was like, oh, she must be ready.
No, I wasn't. I was just. I'm in a smiley mood today. I think it's because another female.
Another
I know,
girl's on the
I'm so
show?
excited.
We pick on Alyssa a good bit on the show.
Whatever.
All right, go.
I do have a fun one though. So I like to do crazy news stories.
Okay.
So are y'all ready for this?
Yeah,
one?
hit us.
Okay. Pennsylvania homemaker. It was a guy. Finds naked milk drinker singing in his kitchen. Authorities say, picture this, 3 a.m. You hear a noise. You go into your kitchen. It is a man naked drinking milk and singing. What do you do?
Shoot him.
He actually
did.
did. He didn't shoot
You
him.
back away really slowly
He wa- I
and
think
don't
he-
make any sudden
I
movements.
think he was prepared. He called authorities, and obviously he was very high on something. And they said he was very confused. He was a gentle guy, apparently. He was very confused as why this wasn't, I guess, his house, and he thought it was his kitchen and his milk. And he was just singing happily at 3 a.m. in
Yeah.
someone else's house.
How do you find these things?
I'm
don't
good.
know. I don't know.
My research is on
Oh
point.
my goodness! All right. So speaking
like
of that,
that.
speaking of guns, let's go ahead and let's jump into this. You're running
Yeah.
as a Republican here, so
Yeah.
Second Amendment.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
There's nothing to debate there.
Hey.
There it is. Sign, seal, deliver.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you shoot? Do you shoot often?
Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up shooting guns.
Okay.
Let's put this myth aside because I
gosh.
remember when I lived in Chicago because I was born and raised Mississippi.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you are not in the South, then everyone else does not live like you as far as country and farmland. I mean, you think Illinois, you think Chicago. Oh, it's all city people.
Right.
So for those of you who
They
don't
have
go
trees
out-
there?
Yeah, well, I mean, but people think you don't have farmlands. I mean, most of
It's
Illinois,
all
though, is,
farmland,
except
yeah.
for Chicago, is the
Absolutely.
anomaly, not the rest of. So anyway, but put
You're
that
right.
myth aside. Tell us.
No,
how
I mean
grew
we're all cornfields, and obviously the city is so in its own little fiefdom. But I mean, it's so peaceful out where I live. It's just all prairie, and there's plenty of areas to shoot, and that's one of my favorite parts about being back home now too.
Yeah.
Is just having that and doing that.
So what are the, and forgive me, I mean, I'm not a resident of Illinois. What are the, like, I mean, I know Illinois's got some of the strictest gun laws around. So, I mean, how difficult is it to obtain a firearm and shoot a firearm in Illinois?
It's pretty tough. So Chicago obviously has its their own kind of process, but you need a FOID card and all that. And obviously it's kind of getting scary of what the current culture, the current debate is right now. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our right, and we need to ensure that we're protecting that first and foremost.
So how different is it? Like, I know here in the South
Yeah.
and in Mississippi, like, you don't even have to have a permit of any kind, like to have a gun in your home or in your car.
Yeah.
Because your car is considered an extension of your home.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have, like, I mean, obviously you got to go through a background check to obtain the firearm.
Yep.
But as far as like a license or any kind of class, you don't have to do that in the South, or at least in Mississippi anyway.
Yep. Very strict.
Would
up in
that get
Illinois.
you arrested in Illinois?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, still carry,
Oh my gosh.
or you got to have it all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In places that there's more violent crime.
Yeah.
That's usually where that happens.
It's crazy how that seems
Isn't
to
it?
correlate together like that. All right,
It's
let's
sad.
see here. What are some other different? Oh, do y'all have sweet tea where you live?
Sweet
No.
tea. What's that?
Are you serious?
Baby, it's Illinois. No.
Why are y'all looking at me like I'm dumb? Why?
What's
You
sweet
know
tea?
that.
Are you? Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a
No,
minute.
I'd want to know.
Are you kidding with me right now?
No, I know what's okay. I know what sweet tea
Okay,
is. So is there
all
a
right.
certain brand? You know,
No,
we don't
it's just,
have it.
It's sweet tea.
No,
Like,
no.
They give you sugar and you have to stir it in. It's gross.
That
No.
is
Gross.
If Hitler did anything, that's one of the first things he did was remove sweet tea out of the. I'm just telling you,
I
that
love
is
how
the
there's
worst thing I've ever
can't
heard.
have that.
Unsweetened tea, like you
Oh, I
take it
love
out of the
unsweetened.
sweet tea.
Yeah.
Can I
They
get a
have to-
sweet tea and then unsweeten it for me?
Okay. All right. Well, that's
just tea.
X number 2 if I'm not moving to Illinois. All right.
And
All
the
right.
cold weather.
I'm gonna move down here. Actually,
There you
No.
go.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So okay. So
And the cold weather.
So
Oh,
let's do some
awful.
language differences here.
Yeah.
All right. The last meal of the day. What do you call it?
Dinner,
Dinner. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dinner.
Good. That's what I call it.
Supper.
Dinner.
Supper.
supper.
It's not supper.
Oh,
Missouri
I got one.
guys does.
That's not
supper.
My
supper.
grandpa said supper.
I got one.
Oh.
What
I
do
said
you
dinner.
call?
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
Ah.
I got to do a hashtag Dear America for that.
well, you can-
hashtag Dear America. Is it dinner or supper?
Or lupper.
I will.
Between lunch and supper, you have lunch.
Oh,
I will.
Oh,
Good
that's a good.
Lord.
That's the fasting diet.
I
right?
will end the
Hey.
debate right now. When's the first time you ever saw a supper menu?
Never.
Never.
That's
Man, I
because
don't-
they just aren't right. It's supper.
It's dinner. Okay, go ahead.
Also,
Yeah.
what do you call the thing you push at a grocery store?
Shopping cart.
Shopping cart.
A buggy. It's
A buggy.
A buggy.
Buggy.
A buggy.
Wow.
It's the dumbest
Okay.
thing I've ever heard.
All
Your
right.
face is
I kind of
dumb.
like
Put it
that.
in
It's
the
like
buggy.
a little 1950s
a buggy.
like
1950s.
lingo. It's just nice.
No,
All
it's
right.
always been a
Wholesome.
buggy. You get
Okay.
the buggy.
Okay. All right.
Wholesome
Okay.
language.
What? All right. This is funny. Okay.
Oh no.
What do you call a carbonated beverage.
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask.
Pop.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. It's
Oh, it's
Coke. It's a Coke.
So wait, who
No.
calls it? Is it
No.
Oregon? Then my sister calls it soda. Is
Soda.
that right?
Soda.
No, is that
Soda.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Can I get some soda?
In
I
the
definitely say
South,
pop, yeah.
Coke
Pop.
represents all of it.
But that's so
Oh.
stupid.
No,
not
it's not.
What would you like
Yeah.
to drink? A Coke.
Coke
Yeah.
revolutionized
Okay.
all of it.
Here's
No.
a Dr. Pepper
That's
for you.
not how
I
it
wanted-
works.
I really wanted a
Yankee.
Sprite.
Let me
Yeah.
explain to you the Southern
Yankee.
tradition. All right, the Southern tradition is, hey man, I'm going to get Coke. What do you want? Yeah, grab me a Mountain Dew. Like it, bam, just like that.
Okay,
I have to give it to him. It doesn't make sense.
So if
my
I say,
sister said that.
I want a
too.
Coke. What kind of Coke you want? A Coke.
A Coke.
Yeah.
No, you.
Stupid.
I get pop.
Ask for a Coke.
I just refuse to say.
I
It is
I
Coke.
refuse
grew
to
up
call
with
it
Coke.
pop. That just sounds
I want a pop, a soda pop.
soda
Hey,
pop.
Pop.
Soda.
Yeah,
A
soda
soda
is
pop.
worse. Like pop is better
Pop
than
is-
soda, right?
yeah,
Can I get a
pop's
soda?
All right.
I don't know. It's weird. Okay, no, I'm not done.
Oh,
This is
oh,
fun.
okay.
We are breaking
What?
down barriers.
Okay.
here.
What
Break 'em,
about
baby, break
the
'em.
road outside of the highway? So like riding
curb?
alongside the highway. It's a road.
The shoulder.
No, like when you're on the highway, there's another road over there that's like
The exit.
we call it an outer belt road. Y'all call it a
what?
frontage
No.
road.
Frontage road.
Frontage road.
Frontage.
Okay,
Yeah, frontage
fine.
road.
So they
I was-
literally says outer belt road because like our GPS will say frontage road.
Outer belt.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, that
frontage
doesn't even
road.
make
Okay,
sense.
that.
I got one. You
It's
ready?
like the shoulder.
You ready?
Yeah. Okay.
That's what
Okay.
I said.
If you are addressing a group of people, you say, "Hey,
Folks.
hey,
No, I'm
folks."
kidding.
Is that what y'all say?
Not y'all.
You
That's
guys.
for sure.
Y'all?
No.
You know
guys.
they don't
No.
say
Do you say
y'all.
you all or
Yeah.
you guys?
No,
or-
you got hi,
You
hi
guys.
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey everybody.
Okay, all right.
Hey, you
Y'all.
I wish I could
guys.
say y'all, but everybody
Hey,
look at
y'all.
me.
I think you should do
Well,
it. Next
crazy.
speech
I
you do, I think
should.
you'd be like, hey y'all.
Yeah.
Southern people are the most persistent people in the world when it comes to words, okay? Because we make up words and people will tell us that's not a real word.
Yeah.
So we just keep saying it for so many years that eventually they put it in the dictionary. Ain't is our biggest accomplishment
I'm pretty
ever
sure,
in the South.
I think cattywampus is in the dictionary too.
Cattywampus.
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure.
even know
You guys are so much cooler down here.
We are.
Yeah.
who you are doing this
Cattywampus?
podcast.
You say, I say that. Everybody knows what cattywampus. Do you know what cattywampus means? Like slightly askew, like it's all
Oh
cattywampus.
yeah, of course, of
Crooked.
course.
Yeah, it's-
Who says crooked? Cattywampus. Is so much
Cattywampus.
fun. Say
it's
cattywampus.
okay. The creek will rise. Anyway, all right. Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah. What? Go.
Well, I just had a couple questions. So
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah. Get
gonna
ready.
nail
it.
Jack's
Oh,
fixing to
no.
nail you.
Prepare yourself.
So Trump just announced that he wants to build 450 miles of the wall
Yeah.
before, I guess, the election in 2020. He hasn't built much new wall. Like he's fixed a lot of existing wall. What do you think if he doesn't build the wall, like that promise of 450 miles? Do you think that's going to hurt his chances at 2020? Because build the wall was like his main thing when he was running, to get elected. A lot of people are kind of upset. I'm kind of upset at the progress of the wall. It's not entirely his fault, but do you think that'll affect his chances if he tells us he's going to build 450 miles and then doesn't?
I think the fact that there's so much gridlock again in Congress that Democrats refuse to understand that there is so much hemorrhaging happening right now at the
Yeah.
border. And so my mom came here legally back in the 80s. And in order for us to actually even think about immigration reform, we need to put up a wall. I mean, a country without borders is not a country.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think the fact that he is pushing so hard to do it and there is intent there that he really wants to is enough to show the people that we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
We just need to stop this ridiculousness that's happening in
Yeah.
Congress.
And it is hard too, because he is gridlocked.
Well, no,
Yeah,
they just
he-
released another.
He did have the House and the Senate, though.
He got
for a
over
little
$1
while.
billion
Yeah.
at first, and then they just released another 2 or something for construction of the wall. So I mean, it is going up. I will say, if I can be true devil's advocate here, that it was far more difficult than Trump thought it would be to
Yeah.
get the wall
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
But I think because it is going up, I don't think it's going to hurt.
And
his
he's still
chances.
persistently pursuing
If he was
that.
still gridlocked
Right,
and there
right.
wasn't a single portion of wall starting to go up, then yeah, I think he'd be in trouble.
Right.
I tell you where Trump needs to back off of going into the election is anything to do with the Second Amendment. He just
Yeah.
needs to leave it alone. He doesn't even need to remotely even have any kind of conversations about it, because the Second Amendment is, I mean, and you saw this with Dan Crenshaw. You want to talk about conservatives and Republicans, you want to talk about a non-discussion topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't even mention anything except 2A is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because they just don't.
But
not even
90% of his
tolerant of it.
followers are staunch supporters of the Second Amendment.
Right,
know.
and they're single issue voters.
Yeah,
Based on the
Yeah.
Second Amendment.
I'm not voting for him anymore.
How do you feel about my guns? I mean,
I'm for 'em.
But there's a lot of people in
Yeah.
America that are like that. I like what you said earlier, that the vast majority of Americans don't care 90% about what's being talked on the news.
Right.
They care about their
Nobody
10%.
cares about that. Yeah,
Right.
they care about 5 to 6 things. They care about their faith, their money, their health care, their firearms,
Family.
their family, and I don't know. And the military. That's probably about it for the vast majority of Americans.
Which actually is a lot. I mean, everyday working people, that's a lot of things to care about.
It-
if you want to be honest.
Absolutely.
I mean, so keep going.
It is, but
Well,
go ahead.
So and the fact that our rights are just such a fundamental
Yeah.
piece of what makes this country great. Whenever there's any sort of conversation of any chipping away at any of that, people then start to wake up, and
Yeah.
then they start following the news, and then they start, well, wait, hold on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And unless you actually, like you said, get into their 10%, majority of Americans are just kind of, I don't know, just into their own
They
world.
don't
I mean,
care.
I mean, we have so many other, like, think about life in
Yeah.
general. Like,
And
there's
life is
so-
hard.
right? We have so many things that everyday life is about, and the
Yeah.
stresses and that's what I hate so much about what happens right now in the news, is that people aren't even listening to each other. They're allowing politics to take over what makes us human.
Right.
Yes.
And what
So true.
builds connections with people, and that's not the way our country should be,
Right.
right? You should care, and you should vote. You should have a say in every day in what's happening with in your political and the policy world. But this constant yelling and this negativity that surrounds today's politics,
Right.
I think is so bad.
I
Yeah.
think
agree.
a lot of that's because of identity politics.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
We're so polarized right now.
Yeah.
But like Ellen DeGeneres the other day, just because she was sitting next to George Bush, it's like, oh my gosh, attack her.
She's a betrayer of gay people.
Yeah, you have to fit in your camps. And like I was going to ask you about like the
Yeah.
minority vote. Do you think they're starting to wake up to identity politics, like with things like Blexit and Candace Owens?
I do. I think because it's just so overused by the left's narrative, they're trying to create this narrative that doesn't exist, right? And just
Yeah.
to give you an example, I actually came into the congressional run when my hometown congresswoman said all Republicans are racist and sexist. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm a female. I'm a minority. Like, this
Wait
isn't
a minute.
true, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's, of course, there's going to be bad people everywhere.
Yep.
But we need to counter that narrative, because it's not true. Everyday people, like Ellen DeGeneres sitting next to George Bush, it's like, no, that's not real. I
Yeah.
mean, people are everyday Americans. We're respectful. I see it in my district. There's this false narrative has got
Yes.
to stop, because united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah.
So
And
true.
that's where it starts, is by pitting race against each other,
Right.
by putting this economic class warfare, by making people not respect each other. And we need to remind ourselves of why this country is the way that it is. And
Yeah.
it's because we have this character. We embrace diversity. We respect each other. We help our neighbors.
Yeah.
And we need to go back to that.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
politics
Amen to
is
that.
just going away.
And I feel like because it has gotten so crazy,
Yeah.
I feel like that is actually helping our calls, your
Yeah.
calls, because
Exactly.
it's like, wow, we are really, really off the reservation on some of these things.
Right.
And I feel like it's waking people up, because it's like, oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute, this isn't right, or this isn't how it should be. Or I work every day in this with other people who aren't like me, and we get along fine. So what's going on over there?
You're exactly right.
Yeah, Candace Owens being called a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Other black
Just
people
such
are like,
extreme.
wait, you called her a white supremacist?
Yeah, it's
It
Right.
doesn't even make
like a Dave
sense.
Chappelle episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and for the Hispanic community, right? A lot of immigration is a topic, right? But for a lot of people, legal immigrants, they look at the border problems and they're like, yeah, we need reform and we need a process.
Sure.
People like my mom and my family worked really hard to get here.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But then also the ultimate equalizer are jobs in the economy.
Yeah.
That is something that all races, we all want opportunity. We
Right.
all want jobs. We all want our communities to thrive.
That's right.
That's African American, that's Hispanic, that's what everybody.
Yeah.
And we need and I think the best part about the president too is that this economy is thriving and it's he's equalizing everybody in that way, and we need to counter that narrative too, that these issues aren't just women don't just care about social issues, and there's jobs in the economy are what the focus needs to be, because
Right.
that is what allows the American dream.
Yeah.
So true.
So let's talk about some things that a lot of people don't talk about when they're running for Congress, or even when they are in Congress. All right? No. Trust me, you'll be all right. Okay, so you are following a trend set by Donald Trump that kind of broke the mold for what a politician actually looks like, and so now you're actually breaking the mold for people that are watching you and others like you, kind of removing this myth that you have to be in your mid-40s.
Lawyer.
You have to be either a lawyer or a doctor of some kind to run for Congress or Senate or whatever, right?
And the bigger degree, the better.
Yeah, and the bigger the
Right.
degree, the better, and all this other kind of stuff. You have to be a self-made millionaire already, and all this other kind of
Seasoned
stuff.
in life,
AOC definitely broke that trend. Anyway, all right, so my question to you is, for people that just don't know, what's the most surprising thing, both good and bad, since you've started running, that you know what I mean, that you found out, since you've really stepped into that world, behind the veil kind of thing?
Sure.
What's the most surprising good thing and most surprising bad thing?
The most surprising good thing is that when you have a message that's resonating with so many people across the country, that support and that thrive, gives you the energy to do it every day. When I get people who are like, look, you're people like yourself, or you're the future of the party, we need new people, things like that. That is important to me, because that shows that the message that the gap that I thought needed to be filled as an everyday American voter was obviously there, and that is resonating with people across the country. So I think that the support that I have from people across the district, you never know how people are going to react to your candidacy, or if people would think, being young and all this was going to be an issue, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the most surprising, is that especially baby boomers, the older generation in my district, they're so excited to have somebody who's young.
Oh, no, that's surprising.
Right,
That's good.
exactly. And so I love that aspect, is just completely breaking the mold in that way, and people saying what can't be done can be done.
And I think people want to see someone who is passionate,
Yeah.
caring, energized,
Right.
about what they believe and what they, on both sides. Because I'm glad that the mold has kind of been broken
Right.
of how it's supposed to be and how things are done.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, but let's not be upbeat the whole time. What's the negative?
Okay.
And that, I would say obviously the media and the political divide that we have right now, that's tough, especially when my friends, my family, they know who I am at my core.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody who is so entrenched in their own beliefs and in on the other side that just fundamentally does not agree with you, well, they paint you as this villain.
Sure.
And that happens to the president. That happens to, we saw it to the ICE officials, the border officials. When you're so passionate about something, it's tough when people are they're trying to create somebody that you're not, right?
So would you say that your coverage is primarily positive or primarily negative?
No, my coverage is positive, but there are people out there that cannot put politics aside,
Right.
and they start doing personal attacks and all that, and I think that's wrong, right? Like of course it's a dirty game. It's tough, and it's not for the weak, but we need to, again, go back to what makes people who they are. We're so much more complex than just political party. Right. And people should not lose friends, again, over politics. I have friends who are on the way other side, but they're supporting me because they know who I am and they love me for who I am. And that's, I think, how we need to approach these things, is that at the end of the day, all people are human. And we're so much more, of course, you can hate the ideology. I could hate socialism, but I'm never gonna hate a person.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
And so that's been tough. It's just the other side that does that too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also almost all even Republicans going against other Republicans.
Yeah.
I think that's tough.
Yeah,
too.
we've had a lot of conversations about that for sure.
Yeah.
People going after other people in the same movement that they're all supposed to believe in. That's interesting to me. So again, and I really kind of want to hone in on this because, I don't know how to become a congressman. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, what are some things that if people are listening to this right now and they hear your story and they go, that's something that I've been dealing with. Maybe that's something that I'm thinking about doing. I mean, how does all that happen? Like, what's the step from you feel like you're supposed to run and you're supposed to do this?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Number one, you've got to believe in yourself, right? I mean, that's what it takes. It takes the fire in the belly. It takes the passion to want to do it because it is a tough job. I mean, it's long hours. It's it's great. You've got to love people and you've got to be out there, but it's a lot of work, right? Yeah. So number one, recognizing that it does take a lot of personal sacrifice, number one, but if you have the fire in the belly to do it, I think it comes easier. So that's number one. Number two, building out an incredible support system, making sure everybody's on board, because when those days are tough, you want to have some sort of place to go and people to trust and people who will be there throughout the process. But then more on the technical side, you build out a really good team. I treat it a lot like a startup coming from an entrepreneurial background. You build out a team, you get your capital, you start running lean, you recognize the challenges out there and what it's gonna take to win, and that's where you pour resources in. And so looking at it a lot like a startup has helped, because when you just think like, oh, what do? Do I file and then I just get in and then my team does it? I mean, there's a whole lot of process, but you figure it out. And again, I think it goes back to just having the fire in the belly to do it.
Who was the first person that you told you were going to run?
My parents.
Your parents?
Yeah.
What did they say? Were they pumped? Were they scared?
God. Yeah. Well, so this is kind of, I probably shouldn't say this, but
do it. Do it. This is the Dear America podcast. Do it.
My mom, coming from, a corrupt country, she's like, well, should we, move? Like, I'm scared for you. And I'm like, Mom, nothing's gonna, it's not gonna be crazy. But they were so excited. I mean, I've been so blessed to have people my parents who have just been so supportive in everything that I do. And they were pumped, and they were ready to support me in that. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Who was the first? And again, like I said, I just find this interesting because you always meet these people that are running or people that are congressmen, congresswomen, but they don't ever talk about how they actually do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a cool conversation to have. So, what was the first, I guess, campaign phone call you made? Did you find a campaign manager first? I mean, what was the first person that you brought on?
So it's interesting. I think so. First of all, I wasn't recruited at all, right? And so and that's part of my whole candidacy. Next, so. Yeah, I mean, in some areas, people just kind of handpick who they want, and parties handpick who they want. And I never was about that. I wanted to do it in the most organic, genuine way possible. So I didn't really have a lot of party folks that I was involved with, and so which has been, they're great now, but it's just not. It didn't really have that avenue. I spoke with a consultant and just did a ton of interviews. I think a lot of it is chemistry. You're going to be with these people for a long time. You want to make sure that you have the right team around you. Sure. So met with those folks, and then just started making my rounds, calling people in the area, getting advice from other people who had done it before and who have run, and just to see, exactly what it was like. And then slowly everything kind of just grew. I also I feel like when you're meant to be where you are, things just kind of come to you. And one person would lead me to another person, and they're like, oh, you should go talk to this person. And so that web just kind of came in, and I was lucky a lot in that way. The fact that I had worked for the Trump administration as a political appointee really helped to have access to a lot of people, and my network out there in DC was incredible, especially with people who did support the president and were my kind of Republican. And so it was all just kind of its own little interweb.
Right. So you had a really good Q3 for fundraising and stuff, right? So what's the hardest part of campaigning? What's the hard? Is it raising the money? Is that the hardest part? Is it door to door? What's the most awkward, hard part of it?
I think for me, it's just obviously fundraising. Like, you don't want to asking people for money is always tough, but when you're in I have sales background and all that, so it wasn't difficult, but that one's hard because I love knocking on doors and I love doing the grassroots stuff. I think that's a tough one.
Asking people for money is tough.
I think asking people for money when it's for like you or your, like, I have no problems asking people for money if it's for like another cause or like something, but when it seems to be
give me your money,
it's like,
and
without you don't have to
without a guarantee either. Just like give me your money in hopes that maybe
well, and I think about like my sister starting her own company out in San Francisco, and she needs to raise a ton of capital, and we're talking about millions and millions, and I'm like, okay, that's way harder than what I'm doing. But so I mean, it's tough. The long hours are tough. That's hard. The personal
catching
sacrifice.
4 a.m. flights to come down here.
I woke up at 2:30
and
the fact that you give a lot of sacrifices up for it. But
do you like flying? Because when you win, you're going to fly a lot.
I do. Not long distance. Luckily, it's only an hour flight from Illinois
I
to
hate
DC.
flying.
Everyone knows
that's
you
the
hate
one
flying,
thing that would
we
keep
don't
me
need to
from
go
running
there.
for congressman one day. It's just like, I have to fly how much?
Get that RV.
I'll RV it kind of thing. Okay, let's see. Oh, really, Jake? That's Jake's finger telling me that.
He hates it whenever.
Time to wind up. No, we're not done.
We got a few minutes.
We are not done.
That's
Jake.
my subtle cue, so nobody knows.
Out him out all the time. Every time he tries to be subtle, and I just bust him out.
Ruins the moment.
I think you should stop being subtle and just start making it a huge thing.
Graham,
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Okay, so again, I really want the listeners to get to know you, who you are. So, what are your hobbies? How do you relate to people? You know what I mean? Because that's things people want to know, right? I mean, do you read?
Yeah. I'm a huge reader.
Can you read? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's what we'd ask Mississippi people. Can you read?
Oh my gosh.
No, I read so much. That's probably one of my favorite pastimes.
Okay.
And I have a dog. So
what kind of
dog?
dog?
Yeah, she's a
Dog
Cocker
person.
Spaniel poodle.
Dog person.
A what?
Cocker Spaniel poodle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we were looking at a cockapoo.
Cockapoo.
We're looking at getting one for my son.
No, we're not.
Oh my God, you have
No,
to.
we're not.
No,
We are not looking at that.
Please get one.
Will you be quiet?
She
We have a
is
mini
looking at that.
petite golden doodle.
Oh my God, they're
So
the best dog.
Ducky's his name.
Petite
What's yours?
Ducky,
Golden
Scotchy.
Or as Anna Grace would call
Scotchy
him, a
and Ducky.
golden noodle.
Yeah, and our
Anna Grace
youngest
calls him a golden noodle.
They're the best dogs.
They are.
Oh God,
Those
they're
poodle
smart.
mixes, I support
Well,
them.
there you go, people.
Yeah,
You
she's
can
my
vote
best
for her
friend.
now. She's not a cat lady. So
Yeah.
we can
Amen
do
to
that
that.
now. No hashtag, no disrespect to you cat ladies, but it's weird. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's just weird. All right, hold on. I want to guess. We're gonna go around and guess.
Okay.
What kind of music you think she listens to? Alyssa, go.
Country.
You think she's a country music listener?
Yep.
Pop, and she also kind of likes jazz.
Nora Jones.
Classical, I mean.
If we get to pick two, I'm gonna go Nora.
I'm gonna
or country.
go rock music. I'm gonna go odd.
I love classic rock. I'm like
Okay,
big,
rock.
yeah, classic rock.
I said
and
rock. I didn't say heavy
That's
metal.
like a
I
huge
said,
genre, but fine.
Yeah.
oh, because
Well-
country music doesn't have different
Pretty
things?
much all the same.
I grew up listening to like the Doors and
Nice.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Ooh, your
and
dad was like
yeah,
that,
My dad, Dire Straits, Eric
Love
Clapton,
it.
Guns N' Roses.
yeah. Fleetwood Mac. I mean, those are
My
that's
sister
where I'm
loves
at.
Fleetwood Mac.
I'm telling you, it's
Really?
like a
Nice.
sixth sense. It really is. You can
Whatever.
tell what
That was
kind of
a
music-
lucky
You
guess.
can tell what kind of music people listen to.
But I love like French cafe, like bossa nova and jazz too.
Ah.
I listen to Billie Holiday a
I
lot.
still won.
Nice.
I still won.
50s.
Don't get
I'll
too
take
pleased
I
I
with
love
yourself.
country
I was
too.
gonna say, make me
I
feel
love
good. What do you love about my
I
choice?
love
Love
country.
me. Love me. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I'm weird in that.
Okay.
But I love
So I take it you don't like scary movies because we talked about the Joker earlier,
No.
and you said that you hadn't seen it yet because you were afraid. so
no.
I don't know if we can be friends after that. To be completely honest with you,
Graham loves
do it.
I'm a
Scary
huge
movie.
scary movie
Oh my
guy.
God. I hate 'em
love
too.
scary movies.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
how do you-
So when we first got married,
Yeah.
right, I had like stacks and this is DVD days. I had stacks and stacks of like scary movie DVDs.
Oh my god.
They have not left the storage bin
I don't even know where
since
they
we
are.
got married. Like, and we've been married almost 11 years.
Well, in my defense,
So-
we also switched over from DVDs, so we just
to
rent on the TV.
to digital everything.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
So what are you a movie person? Are you one of those
Yeah.
people that don't like movies?
No, I love movies.
Okay,
I
so
just don't have time
if
for
if
it.
you had to pick a genre of movies.
Historical fiction, so like Braveheart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All right. That's
Oh,
cool.
Braveheart's
the-
good.
Have you seen the
Black
trailer
Hawk
for
Down.
the new 1917?
1917.
Oh
It
no!
looks
Yeah, I
good.
want to. I
Yeah,
love
it looks
that.
really good. It's the first World War One movie.
Yeah, I think that'll
like
be a good
I've
one.
seen
I
like
would love
major
that.
production
And
kind
Jake,
of
it
deal.
looked very cinematic. Is that what you would say?
Yeah,
like
Jake.
the
Oh, it
production
looks
of it
super
looks
cinematic.
really
Jake
good.
ruins everything TV and movie wise now.
Really?
Because Jake
Yes.
Jake thinks and sees things through the
Yeah.
producer.
Yeah.
It's
side.
awful.
So we'll watch like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, and Jake will just pick it apart the whole time. He's like, "Oh yeah, those old women that they interviewed just happen to have microphones on them, and all that stuff." He just
I try. I don't do that sarcastically. I try
Yes,
and
you most definitely did, Jake. And you're drinking while you do it too, so it's even less subtle.
I mean,
I love Game of Thrones.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
Game of
Big
Thrones
Game
was
of Thrones
good.
girl.
We
It
have
was
really had a void in our life since Game of Thrones
Oh,
is
I know,
over.
it's tough.
There's nothing that like
What do
is
you
on the
replace
same
it
level
with? Yeah.
as Game of Thrones.
There
I've
probably won't be.
I've
again.
thrown around
I
just
don't know.
restarting it,
yeah.
just starting
Nah.
from the beginning again.
Nah, I already know how it ends. I'm over it.
Girl,
That's it for me.
let's get some female questions in here.
There you
I want
go,
some
Alyssa.
girl.
I
Let's do
don't
girl
have-
What
talk.
do the ladies? What do the ladies
Oh,
want
gosh.
to know?
I don't
Okay,
know.
okay, no. Okay, so as a female, which you are,
Thank you.
mother of children, if she was in your district, what are some things that you would want to know?
Well, we
I
like
mean,
the same things men like. I'd want to know about Second Amendments.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. I'm assuming you stand the same with most Republican on abortion. That's a huge topic.
Absolutely.
You want to touch on that? I'm sure, but
well, I mean,
I
yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole push for late term and even post term
'Cause
or
that's pretty
post
big
birth
where you are.
abortions that are
That's
going on.
sick. It's sick.
It
Yeah.
I mean, it's just what are we kind of world are we living in where kids you're literally they're born and you want to take their life. I mean, that's awful.
I like that. I don't even like the political answer. I just like that's sick.
It's sick.
Like
I do
like
too.
that. That's sick. Yeah, that's really good.
I'm sorry, I stink. I don't know.
No, you're fine.
I don't like
I'll ask
cooking.
some
Do you like?
lady.
Do you like cooking?
I'll ask some lady questions, then I'll do it. So what do you think about this whole pay gap thing? Do you think that's a real thing in 2019? I mean, I'm sure just like there's racist people everywhere, right? In every country, all across the world. I'm sure that there's some places
Sure,
that
big
still have
corporations.
issues in that regard. But do you think, and because I don't, just to get it out there, do you think that there's this major pay inequality gap in America?
In terms of the data, no, but I'm sure there is an issue, like you said, but I think the bigger problem is just this like feminism and just like the destroying down men, right? And like,
Yes.
and I don't particularly play into that. I mean, I think you should all be for women and champion each other and all that, but why does it have to be about this this whole equal like
Yeah.
I mean, of course we're equal, but we have our strengths and our differences in a good
Yeah.
way.
Embracing the differences.
Yeah. But this whole like feminism culture and just, I mean, and that plays into the whole the narrative. I don't buy into that.
Yeah.
It's like cherry picking data. You know, if
Yeah.
you look at models,
Right.
female models make way more than male models.
Yeah.
So it's all in how you look at all the data.
I can think of a lot of women that do my exact job and make a lot more money than me.
Yeah.
we-
Let's look at the whole picture.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
just
we just had
saying,
an article the other day that said successful women in their 30s are having a hard time finding a mate because men don't make enough money.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have to. Let's not start about that.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So
Here we go. This is going to turn into dating hour here in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we should cut it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Very
On
single.
that note.
And on that note. All right. So seriously, real quick,
Yeah.
just last little bit here for the audience.
Yeah.
Who is Catalina Lauf? Like, other than just, I mean, who, if you had to sum it up in 30 seconds for voters
that's
to listen
hard.
to, I mean, what differentiates you from the current elected official in your district?
I'm just an everyday American, honestly. And I know that sounds cliche, but I love my people in the district. I love being part of the process and knowing how I can make a difference in politics today. And I'm just very passionate and I don't.
I like
Is that
it.
a tough?
I
It's a tough
think-
question.
Time's up.
When you
Yeah.
win, I think when you win, first thing you should do is go knock on the AOC's door day one.
Oh my gosh.
And like
Graham.
have
And-
like I'm not
Yeah.
talking about fighting. I'm talking about like just have a real. I would
Just
love.
make a sign.
This is
No,
what
I'm
I
going
would
to give her
love
a
to see.
book.
There you go.
Road to Serfdom.
I like it. I like it. This
ask
is
her
what
to
I-
make you a drink.
Yeah.
I would like to see
Give her some
more
textbooks.
like live social media broadcast between two opposing party
Yes.
congressmen or women having a discussion about a topic that seems to be divisive. Like I think that
I
that's
would love
something
that
really
too.
cool that could start to be done. You
Yeah.
know, I doubt she'd do it because she refuses to talk to anyone that's a Republican. But either way, so
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
yeah,
That's what
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
How about that? Anyway,
And millennials should have a choice, right? Like right now, we just have her on the other
Yep.
side. That's a young person that's
The female
obviously
leading the way.
right.
Yeah.
That's talking about socialism and all that. Well, where's the counter narrative
That's
to
right.
that? And
I
that's why
agree.
they,
Who was
brand
it
new
that
the
said
anti-AOC.
that it
Yeah.
was Turning Point, who's like, the Democrats have always been ahead of the Republican Party on like, help me, remember on like news
on
or
on the momentum shift.
on the momentum.
Yeah.
and they've
Yeah.
always been ahead of us. And
Yeah.
it's still true that they're trying to break that, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
support it. I
no,
think it's
well,
wonderful.
we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
super,
you.
super excited for you. We're super excited to watch. When it comes election
Yeah.
night, you have to
Yeah.
let us know.
I will.
Maybe we can do a live podcast from
love that.
from the election
The war
HQ.
room.
there,
Yeah.
the war
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
All right.
Fun.
Well,
So for people listening, where
Yeah.
can they go to help you out, to find
Sure.
out what's going on? Where can they go?
CatalinaForCongress.com, and then follow me on @Catalina Lauf, Twitter, Instagram. all
Spell
that.
your name.
Yeah.
CatalinaLauf.
LAUF. Well,
Yeah.
hey, congratulations on everything.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's exciting.
Thank
I think
you.
it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in here and talking
Thanks
to us.
for
This was a
having
lot
me.
of fun.
I know.
Anyway, that's all we have for this episode of the Dear America podcast. Alyssa, where can they find you?
Alyssa Allen on Instagram.
Jake?
Producer_Jake on Instagram.
And of course, I'm Graham Allen, and you already know that because you're listening to my show. That's all we have for this episode, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.